What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Power Play with CJ. Today we're focusing on the Colorado Avalanche season preview for the 2015-2016 season out there in Denver. You know, they were active in the offseason. Obviously, the Ryan O'Reilly trade. You know, they're going to miss Ryan O'Reilly, but at the same time, how much worse is this team without him? And I think the team, get to that in a second. I like Mikhail Grigorenko. I like Nikita Zadorov. I think that they can both grow into pretty good players in the Rockies. That's one thing to look forward to for fans in Colorado. But you got to look big picture here. You got to look at the construction of this roster, and it is a flawed roster. They went out, they signed Carl Soderberg, who's a big center, and I've said before, I'll say again, you need a big center to compete out west, but matching Carl Soderberg up against Donzai Kopitar or a Joe Thornton or Ryan Getzlaf, Jonathan Taves, whoever. You're not getting the advantage in any of those matchups with Soderberg. And yet, you look at the D. Your number one defenseman is Erik Johnson. He's playing for a contract. I think he'll have a good year because he's playing for said contract. But that's who you're going for, Erik Johnson. That's going to be the guy that you rely upon to play some big minutes on the blue line. Okay. I mean, that's it's your season to dick around with. I think Zadorov can do a few things, but I mean, again, he's 20 years old. Let's not pretend he's gonna change things overnight for that D. Again, there's just too many flaws on this team. I don't think Sakic and Patrick Roy have done a good job at constructing a team that can compete in the Western Conference. Again, they've got a lot of young talent up front, whether it's Matt Duchene, Gabriel Landeskog, Nate McKinnon, even the rookie Mikko Rantanen. I think we'll see some NHL time this year at 18, but it's like, dude, how they're essentially last year's team reinvented, if you will, because they're not the team 2 years ago that kind of sort of fluked their way. I'm not going to say fluked their way. They got career years out of a lot of guys. McKinnon stepped in right away at 18 and just dominated. Varlamov had an amazing year. And they were able to be one of the best teams in the NHL. They obviously fell short against Minnesota in the playoff series, but that was their 2 years ago. This year, it's not going to be the same for the Avs. Again, they should have put more emphasis on adding a defenseman, adding a legitimate number one defenseman. I mean, you look at last year, they lose Paul Stastny free agency, who was one of their better players at that point in time. They signed an aging Jerome McGinley. If you're gonna go out and get a former Boston Bruin that left Boston because of salary cap reasons, they should have made a trade for Johnny Boychuk. I mean, and Boychuk come up in that organization. I mean, once upon a time. So, I think that could have made things a little bit different. But I can't. This team's middle of the pack. They're not bad enough that they'll be in the Austin Matthews sweepstakes, but they're not good enough where you can compete for playoffs. Berth in the Western Conference. Again, I'm excited for the young guys. I love watching McKinnon play. I think Gabriel Landeskog is a hell of a player, hell of a power forward. His offensive productivity at times, I think, is better than he was projected to be when he was coming out of the Kitchener Rangers. Duchene can play. I like a lot of the guys on this team. I just don't like the way it's constructed. They should have sold different assets, tried to address that blue line. They didn't. I mean, you had Francois Beauchemin at 35. You're expecting him to play some big minutes for you next year. And I know he's played well for Anaheim last few years, but that's who. It's like, all right. And who am I to doubt Patrick Roy or Joe Sakic? But I saw this team in action last year. It's not a good hockey team. Whatever way you shake it, it is not a good hockey team. It's not a team that's going to win you enough games, get you in the playoffs. It's also not a bad enough team where you're going to be in the lottery and can draft a potential game-changing franchise player. So again, the Avs, I think if they're floundering at mid-season, which I mean, we'll see how it all works itself out. I think Ginla could be playing elsewhere. He's got this year and next year left on his contract. They could make a few more moves, but again, they got to improve that blue line if they want to compete. Brad Stewart's going to be playing legitimate NHL minutes next year. You fucking break. I mean, if you think this team is going to make the playoffs, then I got a bridge in Brooklyn to sell you. It's just not built to compete in the Western Conference. Eastern Conference, we're telling a different story. We're talking a different story, but yeah, whatever. Wish I could make a bet, but the only thing in Denver I can think of is Rocky Mountain oysters, and I don't feel like eating Rocky Mountain oysters in April if they do miraculously make the playoffs. But I'll think of something. I'll drink shotgun 5 Coors Lights if they make the playoffs. So hold me to that. Like Stone Cold Steve Austin. Anyway, that's our episode of the Power Play with CJ. Bottom line, I don't see the Colorado Avalanche in the playoffs next year, but if they do make it, I will shotgun 5 Coors Lights on the air for you. That's our episode of the Power Play with CJ. Stay tuned for episodes throughout the off season and beyond. Later, guys.